you've been invited to a phone screen, or what some people call a phone interview with a recruiter in this competitive market, we just want to say congratulations. We know it's been a tough job market, so it's genuinely something to celebrate.
It definitely is, because there's often hundreds of applications for one role. So the fact that someone wants to speak with you means that you've already stood out. In this episode, we're actually digging into the phone screen. We're going to go through what it is, how to prepare, the do's and don'ts, and why it's more important than you think. And if I'm really honest, I think this is where people can let themselves down, is they think the phone screen, it's just a phone call or it's just a quick chat with a recruiter.
Exactly. That phone screen call could mean you are progressing to an interview or not.
Welcome to Seen, Heard and Hired. Real conversations about work, confidence and careers. So join us. We're two experienced recruiters, career coaches and good friends as we unpack what it really takes to be seen, heard and hired at work. We've got some honest stories, practical insights and the advice that no one ever gives you. Hello, I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Carol and we're your hosts. Between us, we've spent more than 40 years working in recruitment and career coaching. So we're really excited to dig into career conversations about the realities of work, hiring and career growth, with some banter along the way, we hope. So let's get started.
Hey, Carol.
Hey, Sarah. Great to see you today.
I'm excited for today.
We have so much to discuss about what a phone screen actually is and why it's so important. We'll share what recruiters are actually looking for and listening out for. It really might surprise you. People think that the interview starts when they meet the hiring manager. And I guess that's fair enough. But in reality, it really does start much earlier. If you've applied for a job and then you get a call, maybe it's an unknown number, you answer it, and it's the recruiter wanting to have a quick chat with you about your application.
Yeah, that first interaction after you've submitted your application, you've been waiting and waiting, waiting to hear something. This might be a phone call or it might be a text asking you to arrange a conversation. Whatever form it takes, these first impressions are immediately be informed, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, we're going to pull back the curtain on what recruiters are actually looking for during that first conversation. Because between us, we've had thousands of calls. We've seen the things that help people move forward and the things that unfortunately do stop people in their tracks, so they are not progressed for the role.
Yeah, so true. Whether it's external or like Carol, or internal recruiter like myself calling you, arranging a chat or an initial screening interview, we're going to explain why these conversations matter far more than most people realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, Carol, this is one of the topics where people can often underestimate what's happening because, like we said, they think it might just be an informal conversation, right?
Yeah, they might already think they're actually being interviewed right then, or that they're being invited to an interview. But it's actually called a phone screen for a reason. It's actually a screening step. So if you've been invited to that first phone call, it's good news. Somebody's looked at your CV and thought, I'd really like to get to know this person or get to know them a bit more. So you've already achieved something.
Yeah, you definitely have. And, let's explain where you are in the recruitment process, I think, at this point.
So that's where it gets a bit confusing, isn't it? Because we know what the recruitment process is, but you apply, your resume disappears, and then you wonder what next. So as we see it, a phone screening call is the next step after you've submitted your application. And we all do work differently, don't we, Sarah?
Yeah, we do. Every recruiter will work differently. But generally speaking, for me anyway, I don't know if it's the same for you, Carol, but after applications close, we have a closing date on our applications and all resumes are reviewed at that point.
So do you have a closing date on all your roles?
Yeah. So the organisation I work for, we have to have it advertised for a certain period of time and we have to have closing dates. Not to say, I'm not hopping in there. If I see that we've got 50 plus applications, I might start going through, maybe start screening applications that are really starting to stand out. But typically I do wait till the end.
Yeah, because otherwise you've got all of it to do, don't you, at the end? It could be hundreds of people. A lot of my clients, we don't have closing dates. We are just sort of screening and talking to people as we go and doing headhunting and search. But typically I like to capture the market first though, and then we are long listing from there. So it just kind of Yeah, it reminds me, I was talking to a coaching client the other day because technically a role is open until it's placed, right? I know you might have a closing date and they don't have an opportunity to apply, but I kind of have the view that if someone's coming in late, we're trying to sort of capture as many people as we can. But I had just going to mention that coaching client, he had read somewhere online that you needed to apply for the job within the first 45 minutes of it going online. So that's absolute nonsense. And he was quite stressed about it because he'd read this somewhere. Someone had tried to give some coaching advice online, which was completely incorrect. And if you don't apply in the first 45 minutes, no one's going to look at your application. Well, that's fake news.
True. That's definitely fake news. No, if it's got a closing date on there, it doesn't matter when in that process you apply. If it's at the start, in the middle, at the end, on the very last day, I get people applying up to the last hour.
So as you can imagine, we get hundreds of applications sometimes. So we're not going to talk to every single person. So there are some decisions being made fairly quickly on the strength of your CV. We create what's then called a long list. So Sarah, do you then share that with your hiring manager or what happens from there?
Yeah, sometimes I've got some hiring managers that will be looking in real time at applications that come through because the hiring managers with the CRM that we now have full visibility in real time over the application. So they might be going in, they might be looking. Quite often though, hiring managers or not. They're reliant on me, this is my job. They're relying on me at the end to present with them that either that long list, here's who's applied and here's who I think look good, or it could just be my decision to start doing the phone screens. Every hiring manager can be a little bit different. What about you, Carol? What do you do?
Yeah, it's different because I have so many different clients. It's different for everyone, but typically it's on me to get that long list sorted to do screening. If it's quite a senior role, and I work exclusively with clients, so it's always just me working on that role. So we're not running around trying to fire CVs left, right and centre like some do. So the long list piece, I might long list with a client if it's a really senior role, just to make sure we're all on the right page before I then start to book people in to meet. But typically from a phone screen, I'll invite people to interview with me. So the first interview you're getting is with me. So we then move into a full interview. The ones that we're calling are the ones we believe potentially on paper could be suitable. But so that really is where your CV and your cover letter is really important to get you noticed. That is how you market yourself, right?
That's interesting, Carol. So from my perspective, I think from the phone screens, I've got about, say, 10 candidates that on paper we really like the look of, we really want to talk to. We get into the phone screens and maybe 5 or 6 stand out as being suitable for the role. And we'll get into that. And then that's our shortlist. So that's kind of the differences between a long list and a short list. And then from my shortlist, I either present that to the hiring manager, who then decides who would make it from those candidates to interview, or from the phone screen, I could be moving straight to the interview. So I think from your perspective, Carol, what do people underestimate from that first conversation?
I think they really do underestimate it because obviously what we've just talked about, they don't realise what's happened behind the scenes. So when that call comes, I've already read your CV and thought this person could be a good fit, for want of a better word. I'm not ringing every applicant though. So when we're ringing people, we genuinely want to know more about you. Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's the same for me internally. It's exactly the same. I've picked up the phone because you've already stood out on paper. You look like you can do the job.
And something I want our listeners to hear as well, when a recruiter calls you, we're not sitting there hoping that you get it wrong. It's quite the opposite. We're really wanting to have a great phone call with somebody who's really interested in the role. Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah, we want you to win. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If you only take one thing from this episode, it's that the phone conversation, it's not even as much what you say, it's how you say it and how you come across and how you're communicating. I want to hear that passion. I want to hear that energy, that motivation. You're excited to be getting this phone call. Not saying that you've got to be a huge extrovert, everyone's different, but why do you want this particular job? And it comes back to always your why. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think another thing that's changed over the years is how we make that first contact. Years ago, I remember I would just be picking up the phone straight away. You'd get, this CV looks great. I'll just call them straight away, and people would answer the phone.
Yeah, they don't want to answer the phone these days. So I do find myself texting or emailing quite often first because people have their phones on silent most of the time, or they don't want to answer because they never know who's calling. Sadly, it's nice to have a conversation though, isn't it?
It's true that there are so many spam calls these days that people don't want to pick up if they don't recognise that phone number. And I think candidates generally appreciate having a little bit of notice. And I like that, giving them notice, because it really can put them in the zone to be prepared. And it gives them a chance to gather their thoughts instead of answering unexpectedly, say when they're standing in the middle of a supermarket.
Yeah, or driving, wrangling kids, all sorts.
Yeah.
So, and it does mean that we're having a much better conversation, doesn't it? Rather than, as you know, just said, you're on the train, or you're so, sorry, I can't hear you properly, or it's a time waster for all of us, really, isn't it? That said, though, there are times when I do just want to pick up the phone and call you. And if you answer, you've got a recruiter on the other end of the phone. Hey, it's Carol ringing about the job. Having some energy and kind of being happy to say hi is great. It could also be that you've applied quite late in the process and we're about to get into that next piece. So I really want to make sure that we include you quickly.
But I think the main thing is arranging that time when you can speak freely. Don't just think, oh, this is my opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
Work from home day. Even if you are able to speak, I think it's good if somebody has just called you off the cuff to take a breath, take a minute, and it's okay to say, oh, actually, can I call you back in 30 minutes, and give you that time to prepare. So you really, if it's a job you really want, you need to give it a good 5 minutes minimum just to get yourself in the zone, to read through that ad again, to read through the PD again.
Absolutely. And I guess, and we'll talk more about some of that soon, but I think the main thing is also to respond. Please respond to the text, or text back from the voicemail to acknowledge that you received the message. Like, no ghosting, please. I know there's a lot of conversation around ghosting, and that's a whole other story with clients and things, but it happens to us as well. People don't come back to you. Yeah,
they don't. They really don't. I have a couple of recent examples of ghosting. I'm in the thick of phone screens at the moment. I've got so many roles that I'm recruiting and phone screens that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and I've actually got 2 candidates that just never come back to me. They applied, they made that long listing phase. We wanted to talk to them. And one, the hiring manager was actually really interested in, and she actually emailed him herself to say, I think Sarah's been trying to reach out to you. I really would love to arrange a time to talk to you as well. Like, he was probably in our top 3, and we'd had about 100 candidates apply, and he just never got back to either of us. So I think the point is, you never know. The market's small. People know people. I'm sure it's the same in Auckland. It's the same in Sydney.
I think it's smaller, 2 degrees of separation here. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Don't burn your bridges, because you never know where that hiring manager might end up. And it's just a quick message. It's okay. You might have another job. You might have got a promotion, but just let us know.
And it's just common sense, right? It's actually professional and mature. We're all grown-ups. You answer your messages, respond. If we're all busy, you're looking for work, you're applying for roles, let's just all communicate with each other. And you were saying too, like, sometimes you're ringing to try and schedule an interview, so they will miss out. But look, genuinely something could have happened and they can't get back to you. But typically, if it's just that you're ignoring the communication, just make an effort.
Yeah, recruitment can move quickly, so that good communication can make a difference. And I think, moving on to another misconception, is that every recruiter...
We have a few.
We do. We're at it today. Every recruiter phone call has that same purpose, would you say?
Yeah, because I think it's probably different with internal and external as well, because for me, initially, the phone screen is just that, you're screening as you are. You're sort of screening people in or out. But for me, it might even be just 5 minutes, depending on how well it goes, of course.
Yeah.
But it could be just confirming a few practical things. Are you still interested? When are you available? What's your salary expectations? Just ruling in or out a few things. Yeah. It could even be there's something on the CV that I've seen, quite like the look of you, but there's something I really want to just get to the bottom of initially, whether it's you've just come back from overseas or what you've been up to or coming back to work. I just want to kind of nut that out a bit more before I move through to the long listing. It could be that you think it's a remote job, but it's not, it's hybrid and you're living in another city. So I'm just trying to get to the bottom of that. We don't seem to be as flexible, sadly, in New Zealand for people to work fully remotely in other towns or cities, which I know is a bit different in Australia. And then from there, for me, it's, can we organise a longer discussion? I'll book you in. It's just really making sure that we're not wasting people's time. And I think for you, you're internal, so then you're wanting to get that longer screen booked in so you can just talk to your hiring manager straight away. Is that kind of where it changes?
Yeah, exactly right. I typically will spend one conversation on the phone with someone before the interview, whether the hiring manager gets to see the candidates again or not before the interview. So I always let the candidate know how long it's going to be. So typically I'm texting the candidates, we've got our long list of 10, texting all them candidates saying, 20 to 30 minutes, I'll give you a call, and we're arranging that time. But I think it's okay, just because Carolyn, mine's process is so different. Well, not so different, but you need to know if it's going to be a 10-minute conversation or it's going to be a 45-minute more in-depth interview, because
Sure.
not just because it's your time, but also you need to know how long you can talk for, because sometimes I can be on but it's a 20-minute conversation and they could be spending 15 minutes on that first question. So it's okay to ask the question, how long should I allow for this conversation?
Yeah, it's very similar. We're same but different. If I'm talking to you and it's a shorter conversation, but then I might want to book you in. So because I'm always doing those first interviews. So I've sort of got that sort of shorter step and then the longer interview. But
in the first conversation, I'm typically looking at beyond your experience, your motivations, your achievements. I'm looking to build a picture of who you are beyond your CV, because your CV tells me what you've done, but the conversation that we're having tells me really who you are as a person.
Yeah, it's interesting, that energy. So we've got a few war stories, haven't we?
We certainly do. But anyways, we'll get into that. So once we've got someone on the call, Carol, what would you say that we're actually listening out for? We talked about energy. What else matters in that first conversation?
Yeah, I think really trying to understand the person behind the CV. We talked about the CV before. It tells me where you've worked, but the picture I'm trying to form is two very different things. I mean, a lot of it is that initial reaction, the engagement, the energy, the response. I actually know where I'm calling from and why I'm calling. We're both trying to work out internally or externally, can I see this person working?
Yes, exactly. For me, I'm picturing the team, I'm picturing the manager. Can this person work here? Do the values align? Is it an organisation that I could see you working in?
Yeah, for sure. It's also the motivation. Why this role? Why now? What's prompted you to start looking? I want to understand what's driving that decision. Yeah.
And I think just on that motivation, motivation isn't always about money. I think it's rarely about money these days. Everyone's got different motivators. It could be that career progression. It could be wanting a better leader. It could be wanting that first leadership role. Sometimes, quite often, it's around flexibility or working for a more values-led or ethical organisation. There's so many different motivators.
Absolutely. There's no right or wrong answer there, but what we're trying to understand is that if the opportunity does genuinely align with what you're looking for, because if it doesn't, there's a good chance that neither you or the employer will be happy 6 months down the track. So we're really looking for that alignment, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think this is where our years of experience, recruitment experience, it comes in as well.
Yeah, we're not trying to sell you every job. Some people might think recruiters are there to do that. It's certainly not how we work. If I don't think it's the right role for you, I'd much rather have an honest conversation with you right there and then than encourage someone to interview for something that isn't right. So we work through that, and actually in the phone screen at the end of it, it might be, hey, yeah, we've agreed that we're not progressing, or we're saying we'll get back to you with, we'll either call you or email you. I think that helps everybody. I also like to listen out for things, because what leader or hiring manager you're working for, what sort of leader do you enjoy working for. You've got to make sure that those things are aligning, or what your non-negotiables are as well, because it might be something that doesn't work straight away. So we're able to work that through.
You're listening out for little things. Will you enjoy the culture? If it's a fast-paced, high-performing team working long hours and you're expected to be online at the weekend, and you have a young family, or your biggest driver is a job that allows you to do pick up at 2:30 every day, then this probably isn't the job for you. And you're really going to need to assess that. We as recruiters should be assessing that in the first phone call, because it's better, like Carol said, we talk about it now than we're 3 interviews deep.
Yeah, for sure. And that just wastes everybody's time, right? It's those red flags, isn't it? The red flags that are coming thick and fast. It could be coming for you. It could be coming for us when we're talking with you.
And it may be, and especially, I'm talking for you, Carol, but it's not this role. There could be another role that you're working on, or another role that comes up that could be relevant. So it's building that really great connection now.
Oh, definitely.
Well, it's the same for me as well, but I'm working for the same organisation. So if this role's not right, typically that's probably, I work for one large team. It's probably not going to be, but thinking about who you're talking to, and is there any other opportunities?
I do say to people though, when we're coaching them, if you're in a phone screen or you're interviewing like with you, say someone's talking to you and then you get through that and they're like, oh, so is there any other jobs going? Have you got anything else to do? Like just focus on that particular one, because it's the energy that we want to hear that you're keen on that role. But yeah, as Sarah said, because being an external, often it's that connection you've made with that person. They think you're great. It might not be quite right for that role, but you're on their mind for something else, which is really cool. So keeping up that relationship and that connection is great. Form a relationship with your recruiter.
You need to.
For me too, curiosity, Sarah, would you say that's another top one?
Yes, I love curiosity. It's actually one of my highest values. I'm always listening for people that are asking the interesting questions, the thoughtful questions. I absolutely love it, because not because candidates are trying to impress me, but because I can tell they're genuinely interested.
Yeah,
what would you say?
Well, yeah, and they've done their homework. They're thinking about whether the opportunity is right for them. So, yeah, that excites us, doesn't it? It's funny, all these years later, talking to people that are curious and engaged and energized for a role still is a really cool thing.
Yeah. The best conversations feel exactly like that. They feel like a conversation. Yeah.
When someone says, can you tell me a little bit more about the team? It tells me they're engaged.
Yeah. And on that though, I wonder whether people hold back because they think they should save all of their questions for interview.
I think some people do, because they're not really still putting the store on what the value of this conversation is. But remember, recruitment is a two-way process. So this is your opportunity to learn as well. So use questions. We can give you valuable insights into the role, the team, the organisation.
I absolutely agree. Use that time to ask lots of questions. Let's get into talking about the things that don't work so well. What would you say? What's your biggest one?
Where to start with the biggest one? When they just start to read their CV back to me, I've already read it. That's why I'm calling. I don't need you to tell me where you've worked line by line. I'd much rather hear the highlights, what you're proud of, what sort of work you like to enjoy, or what you're looking for next.
Oh, it's so true. We get it all the time though. You know, we say this with Jess, but actually a lot of conversations, people just dive into what they've done, what they're doing at the moment, what they're working on. Like, yeah, it's on their CV. So even if you want to talk about that, talk about some achievements, just a quick highlight. Another big no-no for me on the phone screen is hearing desperation. And I get it, somebody might just be made redundant, you know, so I say this with love, but a recruiter talking to you doesn't want to hear that you're just looking for any job. They don't want to hear, oh, I'm just looking for a new job, or I've applied for heaps of jobs and you're not really sure what the job is. I think just that air of you're just blasting your CV out, you're auto applying for everything, it really can come across not great in phone screen.
For sure. It's all about that job search strategy. It is definitely, you've got to be in the zone and in there for that particular one. It's also these conversations that happen too often. I'll ring, I'll get someone, I might answer, or we've arranged a call, and then what is it that prompted you to apply for the role? I've applied for heaps of jobs, and then that's it. Nothing more is said. It's like, okay, well, I understand that people do apply for multiple jobs, but is that really the best foot that you're wanting to put forward? I'm really trying to understand why this one, what caught your attention, what interested you enough to apply. So if you can't tell me that, it's clear that you're really not that interested.
Yeah. We want you to succeed. We're calling you, like we've said a million times on this, we're calling you because we think you can do the job. So put your best foot forward. Talk about things that we can share with our hiring manager. Talk about things that you're really proud of.
Because it's helping to build that picture, isn't it? Rather than apply for heaps of jobs, it's talking about some of the good qualities that you've got. I mean, we will ask you questions to prompt you on that stuff, but the very first thing is, why were you interested in this role? If you can't nail that, then we're probably not really that interested in carrying on the conversation.
No, it will end in a 5-minute conversation if you can't answer that very first question on why you've applied and you can't articulate it for me, because we want to be able to build that picture, help us build that picture of you. As an external recruiter, Carol, have you ever had someone answer the phone and say, which job was this?
Oh my word, more times than I would like to count. There's nothing worse. Before you jump on a call, or if it's a scheduled conversation, take 2 or 3 minutes to remind yourself, read the ad again, look at the company, refresh your memory. Otherwise, it can really feel like you're not interested. So It's also sometimes if people ring off the cuff, you might have an unknown number come up. But if you are in a job search, it's probably going to be a recruiter calling you. So if you're going to answer, make sure you can talk at that moment. But also don't just be like, what job was this? It's actually knowing it's Carol here ringing about the job at. It's like, yeah, hi. Even if you've got to fake it till you make it, just get that energy going. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Sarah?
it makes a huge difference. Yeah, definitely. So we've talked about what we're looking for. What about the mistakes, Carol, that people make without even realizing?
There's definitely a few that come up time and time again. We've already talked about some of those earlier, but it's that really sounding disinterested, not answering professionally. If you're in a job search, this is really basic stuff, but if you need to answer calls, do it in a friendly way. I mean, you might be busy, you might be feeling grumpy, but don't just answer the phone and go, yo, or the assessment really starts from the minute you answer the phone.
Yeah.
The other part to that too is there's some things that can really help with that. So keeping track of the roles you've applied for, having a think before, when you apply for the role, having a think about some of the things that you might be asked, like have a think about salary expectations, because you're going to get asked that question. If they ring and say, what are your salary expectations? Oh, I'm just happy to have the market rate. Or you can deflect a little bit, but you just need to have a bit of a think about what is important to you.
Yeah.
And keep it in a range. We're not expecting you to tell us exactly, but it could be a range. But yeah, we need to talk about this because we could be way off with each other.
Yeah.
So
And candidates can sometimes, want to keep it private or not want to. It's all talking about salary, but we talk about salary every day. We're recruiters. I think just remember that we will want to try and get you the best possible salary. And if that's a 20 or a 30K increase because the role's bigger, you're going to be stepping up and leading a team, we're going to advocate for that for you. So please don't shy away from saying if you're on a salary that you're really not happy with, because we're here for you.
Yeah. Another one for me is when people don't actually answer the question. I'll ask something like, what interests you about the opportunity? And 10 minutes later, I'm still waiting for the answer.
I think people are just keen to tell us everything. They're excited, I get it, you want to talk, but just be mindful of how long you're talking for. Ask if the recruiter wants any more information. Just don't lose sight of the question and don't start talking about everything. Yeah.
Reading the room and being mindful that you're keeping it succinct. The same advice that we give when you're fully interviewing, keeping things succinct. So yeah, for sure. Phone conversation does tell us a lot in that one part with how you communicate. Can you communicate clearly? Can you build rapport? Can you listen as well as talk? I know we've talked about energy quite a bit, but when we're on the phone with you, that's all we've got. You don't have to be super enthusiastic and things, but your voice is all we've got on a call. So if you sound completely disinterested, it's hard for us to gauge whether you are genuinely excited about the opportunity or not.
And sometimes people are just caught off guard. You've said it, but another reason why it's absolutely okay to say, I am really interested in this role. I really want to talk to you. Thank you so much for calling. But would it be okay if I call you back?
Absolutely. Hey, we're all human.
And another thing, use your recruiter. Phone screening is a really great opportunity to make use of their intel or their insider knowledge that this person has.
Yeah, definitely. So ask us questions if you've got the time.
And recruitment's changed, I think, quite a bit over the years. Even the way those first conversations happen is evolving.
Yeah, it really has. Technology is really changing the process, isn't it? We're seeing more AI, more automation and different ways organisations are connecting with candidates. So let's just spend a few minutes just talking about this because we don't want to scaremonger. And remember, a human is still making the decision at the end of the day. But I think people are quite curious about this.
I was talking to a friend who is now a recruiter in the UK, and she said it's very normal that they're actually using AI to be scheduling candidate interviews, and they're not even calling candidates. So from that long list that we were talking about earlier, say the 10 candidates, then this is probably for more junior level roles, higher volume, graduate positions, call center. You won't even get to talk to anyone. So they'll see your CV and then you might get asked a few questions all over email. It's all automated. And then you'll be going straight into the interview, which again, that you're booking in yourself through an automated system.
It's wild, really. They're putting it all on the person. I think that really makes me wonder, because they're booking everyone in and treating everyone the same. What about if someone does have disability or they're neurodiverse, what do we do? What do they do?
Yeah, I don't know what they do. I know part of our application process, we do ask about reasonable adjustments. So it's something that we ask in the process. Do you have any reasonable adjustments? Yes or no? If they say yes, do you want to expand? Quite often people don't want to put that in there, but I'll see that they've ticked yes and I'll ask them about it. And I think that's the important thing that we're trying to do is at every touch point, ask if there's anything else I can be doing to assist you in your process. What else do you need from me? Is anything that you want to share? Because if a candidate has ticked yes, they may have shared that they might be hard of hearing. So they may need adjustments for that first phone call. They may need it to be online. They may need to use a transcript. But yeah, it's something that we've kind of added into our process because everyone is different. Everyone has different needs.
And also, I guess then that means you'd hope that the companies that are using these AI phone screens, they've got that reasonable adjustments built in, because then it might be difficult for them to complete an AI assessment and it can create a genuine barrier. So I guess that's bearing that in mind, that you don't actually have to complete it that way. You can let them know. I think the other part to this is, so that it's not a great big scary thing, is that whether you're speaking to an AI agent or a recruiter, the advice, I reckon, is probably the same. Just make sure that you've prepared, find somewhere quiet, listen carefully, answer the question, use good examples, and just be yourself. Those things haven't changed. So while the technology's been evolving, good communication never goes out of style, does it? So part to that is, I guess, with AI as well, is probably speaking really clearly and a bit more slowly. They probably don't need animation. It's a work in progress. Yeah.
Get into our myths and truths, Carol. See if
let's do it.
In paying attention.
Well, we have to.
It's only a phone screen. It's just a phone screen.
Yeah, that's a myth, and it's something. It might be the conversation that gets you the interview. So that's something really important. It's the first interaction and the first point of contact. And it's probably one that we remember too as we go forward. So what about this one, Sarah? I have to answer immediately if a recruiter rings.
No, that is a myth. It's perfectly okay and expected that you're arranging a better time if they're calling you off guard, and you need to be able to have that conversation, give it your full attention, and have spent a bit of time to think about why you applied and why you want the job. Yeah. So Carol, recruiters only care about your experience.
That is a myth. Whilst experience is possibly needed for some of those roles that we're talking about, it's also around, we're trying to assess your communication, your motivation and your alignment, that they matter just as much.
Yeah.
We're going to introduce a little segment called Listener Love. We just really want to say thank you to people that have been subscribing and following us. We're early in our journey and we really want to say thank you. So Sarah, we've got a few reviews that have been coming in. So should we shout out to a couple of people? Should we do that?
Yeah.
We're just finding them online. Yeah.
So many. And they're great, with really great listener love. We've got Kim in Sydney. Another great episode. Loving the podcast, ladies. Thanks so much, Kim. Thanks for your support.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Mel responded, the big questions often need the most simple of answers. So yeah, she was agreeing with a previous episode.
Oh, very true. Yeah, for sure. I love this one from Jo. Thanks for your support, Jo. And she commented saying, loving the episode. And then she gave us a little anecdote. This was our last episode about behaviour-based questions. And she said, I've had those. Why can't I think of an example moment? And dug something out of the archives of my mind from 1999. Left the interview and instantly thought of so many better answers. The vibe was weird from the first moment and I was so flummoxed. So yeah, that's it was such a great response around being prepared. So yeah, we're really grateful for all your support.
Thanks everyone. Keep sharing, keep following, make sure that you're subscribing and commenting, because we love to hear if you've got any comments about future episodes that you really want us to dive into. Let us know.
We are seeing some episodes from your feedback. We think through that.
I think if people take one thing away from today, it's do not underestimate that first conversation.
Because from our perspective, we're not just making a phone call. We're trying to understand who you are, what you're looking for, and whether we can confidently recommend you.
Yeah. So if you get that text or you get that phone call, take a minute, prepare, celebrate yourself, do a little whoop whoop dance, get in your zone and absolutely smash it. So if today's episode has helped you feel a little bit more confident about that first recruiter call, what is a phone screen? What should I do? We'd love it if you share it, or someone who's job searching at the moment, share it with them. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yay. See
ya.
you later. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.